Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is Black Friday again in the U.S., so may the odds ever be in your favor.
Get out there and throw some elbows in those big box stores.
And today we're doing nonsense and security. Security first.
Yep, and unfortunately it is a disappointing haul for nonsense because we were betrayed by our editor, and I'm sorry, and I forgot to put the Chinese story in there, but I'll add it during the news.
Not our video editor, but like the actual WYSIWYG editor.
I'm going to go ahead and blame him.
No.
So let's talk about security. First of all, we thought that we had gotten rid of this infestation, but that was foolish. We should never have believed Microsoft when they told us this. That was arrogant.
Emotet botnet returns after law enforcement mass uninstall operation. It kind of sounds like they might have decided to call it Emotet again for the headlines because it's different software on different machines, and the machines maybe needed to be patched properly and they weren't patched properly, so there might be a little bit of overlap, but good lord. But yes, these are new command and control servers on some of the old previously infected machines. It's a mess. It's going to be a mess.
And Intel has another unfortunate flaw. This one may be less of an impact, but it only impacts older stuff. But because it only impacts older stuff, it's never going to get fixed.
Nope.
Those motherboards are never going to get updated.
High severity BIOS flaws affect numerous Intel processors. So like 7th gen, 8th gen, 9th gen maybe. You can steal keys that you're not supposed to be able to get at ever. So if you have a machine that has BitLocker on it, for example, and you boot, it's a bootable version of BitLocker, it may be possible to extract the keys from memory using the management engine surreptitiously. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Time to upgrade.
Oh yeah, all the C3000 Atom processors that are in all the routers and gateways. Oh yeah, all those VPN keys, they're compromised.
And an old, mostly theoretical, like, did we ever see these in the wild?
Some hyperscalers reported that this was a problem.
It wasn't as used as much. Those were probably some really high level, like they were going after big targets to waste that kind of time. But the researchers have continued making it better, which, you know, I mean, you got to give them props for it. But at the same time, it's like, oh, do we really need to uncover this horror?
I like what they called it too.
Yeah, the original name was good too.
Yeah.
Very catchy. Very good marketing at the research team here.
Yeah. DDR4 memory protections are broken wide open once again by a new Rowhammer technique. So Rowhammer is writing a bunch of stuff to memory and then in a pattern in order to flip bits in adjacent memory cells. It's kind of like just making a mess of things electrically. And so they've shown that this is very easy and possible to do even on modern DDR4 systems, even though things may have been mitigated a little bit at the software level. Because when you're writing all ones and all zeros to the memory, it's not necessarily actually writing all ones and zeros. Things are stored a little differently. So I would just take this opportunity once again to recommend error correcting memory, ECC memory. Everybody should be rocking ECC memory. It should not be a differentiating feature of like server platforms. We should all have ECC memory on the desktop because they were able to flip bits on a bunch of different memory configurations. They tested 40, they flipped bits on all 40 configurations. And some were easier than others.
And so much faster too than the old attacks.
Yeah.
So that's going to make it a lot more useful. The FBI has a little bit of egg on their face, or perhaps a lot. This was probably, they probably subcontracted this website. Probably wasn't their internal people, but still, if you're the FBI, you cannot make this mistake.
Hoax email blast abused poor coding in FBI website. So what happened was you were getting an email from the FBI, and it was like, haha, that's not really from the FBI. And then you looked at the email headers, and it's like, no, it really is from the FBI. But it turns out that one of their web servers was compromised.
Luckily, it was a guy just having fun and pointing out he wasn't trying to do anything malicious. I think he said he reported there was malware on your forehead or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that they laughed about that and were like, thanks for giving us the heads up to that guy.
And I'm sure they won't try to find him. And
SEAL Team 6 is already on the case, dead or alive.
And DNS cache poisoning. We've known that Linux could suffer from this for quite a while, but now we know some disturbing new details.
Linux has a serious security problem that once again enables DNS cache poisoning. So you could flood a DNS server with forged requests, and eventually one of them will get through.
It's what, 76,000
64. It's a 16-bit number. You have to guess a 16-bit number correctly.
So yeah, that's about how many. 134 million combinations. No. That's the old. That's the new one, right?
Yeah.
The old. That's because they're also using port numbers.
Yep.
But for just the people that don't have better mitigation against this, it's a much lower number of attempts. And it turns out 65,536.
16-bit.
If you're doing this automated, that's nothing.
Yeah. On a 10 gigabit Ethernet interface, you can do that in about 500 milliseconds.
So once one of those 65,000 addresses will let you poison the cache. You don't even have to guess the right one. You just have to send the same request every time.
And the result has to get there faster than the real one, which again.
But if you can get a high level or a low level DNS cache pointing a major website to your phishing site.
Yeah. Seems like that wouldn't be a problem for any state-sponsored agencies.
For sure. Well, we live in a world where you have your whole life on your phone, and if somebody else gets a hold of it, that's a panic, all right? But also, we have cameras everywhere that are looking at your phone while you're using it. What are you going to do about that?
Apple patent fights lookie-loos with glasses-activated screen blur. The tech would use face scan to see if a user is wearing privacy glasses, and if they are, it only works through the glasses.
So I guess that's kind of like the same principle as a diffuser type of deal. Interesting.
It's a little bit William Gibson here.
But it's a whole lot Apple, because not only do you have to buy the glasses, you probably have to like download that app and then let it track, and then it's always sending those pictures back.
Maybe it's a subscription app.
That's their kind of thing, for sure. Here's our data breach of the week.
Oh.
Costco discloses data breach after finding a credit card skimmer. So I was expecting this to be much more egregious than it was, but no, somebody just managed to install a credit card skimmer at Costco, and more than one.
That has to be inside job, right?
You would think.
When would those be unsupervised?
I don't know. Have you seen those street magicians? Sometimes they can.
You think David Blaine is behind this?
Those are big allegations to make on the Level 1 news.
Here was a fun story because, the cryptocurrency, a lot of people believe that cryptocurrency is this populist revolution. It's the money of the people, and it's going to allow us to get away from all of the old school stuff. And in these guys' minds, back to the glory days of actually following the U.S. Constitution. I wonder if they will not just run away with this money, right?
Probably.
I think that's probably what's going to happen here.
Crypto bid to buy the U.S. Constitution print raises over $40 million. Spoiler alert, they did not win the Constitution. Another phone-in bidder won for like $43 million. So there's all this crypto just hanging out now.
They will definitely be keeping that.
Oh, we've had a driver crash. It's fine.
You got to have one every day.
If I were going to be here next week, I could have updated the driver.
Hey, now we're back.
And it's back.
So that's unfortunate. I would say be very careful about donating crypto to these kinds of things.
It says that what was the guy who saved the U.S. Constitution in the movies?
Nicolas
Nicolas Cage's fundraiser for buying the U.S. Constitution is just like, I don't.
I've never seen those movies. Would you recommend them?
No. I mean,
really?
They're
not even the first?
They're okay, but they're not a Ryan kind of movie. I mean, they're just kind of like.
They're good popcorn movies. They'd be good to, like, if you're playing a game, if you're playing House Flipper and you need something on in the background, that would be a good movie for
They're
that.
good turn your brain off.
But isn't it an action movie?
I mean,
a little at times. It's fun. It's like what was the Mummy? You remember the Mummy with Brendan Fraser?
Yeah.
It's that kind of energy trying to be an Indiana Jones movie.
it's not bad.
I've got to think that any of the fringe podcasts I listen to would be better suited for my house flipping than that.
Also, I don't know why this made me think of it, but there is an amazing Antiques Roadshow hired Ryan Reynolds. Is that right? The Deadpool guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
To promote something that he was doing. or to promote Antiques Roadshow, and so he had one of Cleopatra's eggs on there, which of course that was stolen. It disappeared at the end of World War II because the Nazi thing. So he's got the thing, and he's got the Antiques Roadshow, and it's just really funny. It's a really funny ad, but it's Ryan Reynolds, and he's like, the Antiques Roadshow is like, how did you come into this? And he's like, well, it's complicated. Never mind.
I haven't seen it.
Guess you had to be there.
It's the same kind of humor that's in the Constitution Nicolas Cage movie.
I might skip it.
Yeah.
So you might be thinking, hey, Ryan, I think this is another missort. You meant to put this in the business section, right? No, I meant to put this in the security section. If you do this, you are so phenomenally stupid that we might never be able to save you. But if you're thinking about doing it, for the love of God, think it through.
Coinbase goes social by letting users tout crypto allocations. Don't do that. Don't do that.
My God, that is a bad idea. I mean, forget being hacked, because if you have enough, that is what will happen. Someone will steal it.
They won't. You won't be hacked, though. It'll just be a guy with a wrench that shows up at your house.
Or you go home for Thanksgiving and everybody's like, oh, hey, listen, I need a new kidney. And I know you got I know you got 50 grand, right? You tweeted about it. Don't do it. My God. And if you think like, oh, the ladies are going to love me when they find out I got all this crypto, those aren't the ladies you want to hook up with. No.
They're like the people looking at Ryan Reynolds' egg.
It sounds so dark for some reason.
Moving on to nonsense. Well, that was a little bit of nonsense, a nice little transition story. But I thought this was great because it's just like, oh, great, the biblical plagues are back. Remember when we went into the darkness with the horrible, like we had the fire, and there was what was the other event?
The wasps.
Oh yeah, and the locusts.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, here's all the biblical plagues. So now we've had our actual plague. Time for another one of these.
This one's in Egypt.
Yeah.
Storms in Egypt's Aswan unleash scorpions in people's homes. So there's water everywhere. There's nowhere else to go except inside people's homes. 40 people have died. I thought this was like a, haha, this is a nuisance. No, people are dying.
These things are brutal.
Yeah.
If you get stung by one.
It's probably the same kind of situation we're going through where it's mostly just the old and weak. But even then, that's tough. That's a rough way to go to find out that grandma got hit by a scorpion.
I don't think it was 40 people who got stung. Did they all die?
No, 40 people died.
400.
Yeah.
400 got stung and hospitalized.
Wow.
40 died.
Yeah.
That's a 10% death rate.
Yeah.
That's better than the vid.
Do you think that YouTube's caught on to that yet?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, have they? Maybe we can cut that part out.
It's fine.
Beep it. Id Software, they've got a pretty good, I think people kind of generally like them, right? Pretty good PR.
Generally.
This is not the kind of thing that helps that.
No.
This really is a bad look.
ID Software is trying to stop a man who wants to name his band Doomscroll. I'd just point out that Doomscroll doesn't have anything to do with the Doom franchise. But this article points out how the lawyers have sent threatening letters to other people that wanted to trademark, Doom somewhere in their name, even though they might have nothing to do with computer software or computer games.
And this is one of those situations that points out the glaring flaw in the American legal system, which is he is right 100%. He should win this case, but they would be able to stretch it out and punish him for so long that he cannot win the case, even though the truth is on his side. Now, if you have a legal system where that's the case, you got to rethink it, don't you think?
Yeah.
Something needs to change there.
Things might be stacked in favor of whoever has the most money.
I think the system's working in the way it was designed.
Well, not the way it was designed, but the way it has been twisted
Yeah.
in the 200 years since then. This is a headline we've seen more. How many times have we seen this? 5, 6 at this point?
Oh, there was the expose that we did about this time last year where there was this elaborate, there were hundreds of fake accounts, and that's how they were tracking things.
And there was the guy who was using it to go after Spanish women.
Yep.
And then there's all sorts of stuff like this that they do. They keep getting called out for it, and Facebook is like, no, you cannot do this. But they don't stop them, do they?
Facebook tells the LA police to stop spying on users with fake accounts. So you got to imagine how egregious this is for Facebook to step up and say, hey, guys, you got to tone this down just a little bit.
Literally in the training material. They teach it.
This is not a good look for Facebook when it comes out that, yet another person whose dog was murdered on a routine, noise complaint. And it's like, oh, yeah, Facebook, there was a fake account that was involved in that.
Terrible. And another reason you shouldn't be using Facebook. Although I'm sure they're on all the other social platforms too.
Yeah, it doesn't
Do you
matter
think,
where you are.
Are they like, listen, we got to get some young hires because no one here at the force knows how to do TikTok. Got to get some recruits from the academy. And I got to be honest with you, I didn't quite understand much about this story, but this quote was so good because our government, I think, has the same idea. Wouldn't you agree?
They agree. Yeah.
And that's not compatible with modern life.
No.
This should be a prerequisite, but it's not.
It's not the duty of a prospective counselor to know how to use a computer, Mabuza tells the NCOP. So this is a South African nation? An African nation? South Africa. It is South Africa. Okay. That, they're local people. They're local counselors. This is like a local regional thing. There's a lot of economic problems in that area. They may be headed for some sort of collapse of their economy. And so computer literacy would probably be a good idea. But part of it seemed like he was saying that if you're elected, you don't have to be computer literate because the people chose you to be the best for the job. And so it's like, okay, maybe.
Well, I think the argument, when you boil it all down, is that this guy's the overall leader. And these regional leaders in this one area that's really poor are bad leaders. And the people are like, hey, these people can't even do the minimum part of their job. Like, they don't even show up for work. They don't do anything.
They don't know how to check their email. Yeah,
exactly. And his response to that is like, well, it's not their job. You chose them, didn't you? And they're like, no, the elections are fake. Your election was fake. And then he has them detained. It's disgusting, and yet not that much different from our country. Here's a story that it's funny because you remember when this happened downstairs? The cats?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some people, generally, it seems, well, I'm not even going to say that. Some people with serious mental issues, and my mom is one of these people, they have this idea that they're the savior of animals and that they must do that. And the unintended consequences of those actions mean nothing. No matter how many bad things happen after you feed the animal, you must feed the animal. That's the sickness. And it leads to this.
Grandmother issued with restraining order to stop feeding carrots to quote-unquote sad horse.
How fat did the horse get?
The horse is fine. That's the good news here. Horse is fine. So what happened was this woman, she walks past the horse for some reason many times a day, and she was like, oh, that horse is sad. So she started bringing carrots and feeding the horse carrots. And the little tops of the carrots were all over the field. And the woman who owns the horse was like, don't feed my horse. This is a race horse. He's on a very scientific diet. So what happened? This woman called the RSPCA, which I guess is the British version of the RSPCA.
Our SPCA.
The animal cruelty people.
Yeah.
Yeah, RSPCA. And they show up and they're like, hey, let's take a look at this horse. We've heard that it's sick. So they showed them the horse, who is at the peak of physical conditioning. It's literally a racehorse that's competed 3 times this year. And the woman said, I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it. She had to be arrested.
Wow. That's a commitment to a childlike wonder of feeding an animal.
The big question on my mind is the horse. Do you think the horse is thinking, God, I miss those carrots?
Probably. Yeah. They've got me on this sawdust of a food.
Carrots are one of the sweetest naturally occurring vegetables.
Which is why carrot cake was a thing. If you wonder, why did they make cakes out of carrots? And they didn't have any sugar.
Yeah. The sugar in carrots was kind of a lot.
This is a follow-up to the Vietnam story. So if you don't know about the Vietnam story, one of the high-ranking communist guys went to the climate summit and lived it up a little bit more than you probably should if you're part of a communist government, because you're living a better life than everybody else when you're not supposed to be doing that. The biggest takeaway from that story is how far Vietnam went to silence it. And then this happened.
Vietnam, the police have summoned noodle seller after Salt Bae parody. So he posted a video of him putting salt and green onions in his, street noodles that he sells with a flourish. Kind of like, the Salt Bae.
Yeah, bending the wrist.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing.
But he titled the video Green Onion Bae. So he wants to be Green Onion Bae. So the police summoned him and said that they didn't really ask anything about the video, but it was, they kind of, were saying, don't do this again. We're keeping an eye on you.
But he was like, don't do what? What is this about? And the answer was, that's national security.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to know.
We're not gonna talk about that.
It wasn't national security, was it?
No.
Oh.
It was don't rock the boat or we're gonna have to disappear you in the middle of the night.
But did he think he was rocking the boat?
I think he was having fun. And
which is not allowed in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just trying to capitalize on the news story.
Yeah.
And get some business for his business.
Come buy my noodles.
Yeah.
So if you're in Vietnam, you should check out that guy's noodle cart. And also let us know he's okay.
Based on this story, I'm going to give you a recommendation for a great YouTube channel and a video that you should watch. The YouTube channel is JCS Criminal Psychology. JCS is Jim Can't Swim. And he has a video of a woman who did this exact same thing, although she did it a little bit smarter. And they have they filmed everything. And you can watch the whole thing play out, and it's incredible. Because after she tries to get her husband killed, he's the phone call she makes from jail. She tries to gaslight him that she didn't do that. And it's just incredible. You got to check it out. This is the same story, except this woman did the least effort that you can imagine. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
I read this story and I thought this would be like you and I just sat down one day and for some reason we built a website for this, and then because it was ha funny and we were having funny in the moment, and then we forgot about it. And then 6 months later, it was like, oh my God, somebody tried to use this?
Well, it almost
Do we have to let the police know?
That's almost exactly that.
Yeah.
I think they were actively running the website, but I don't know if you think they built it and they're like, nobody's going to fall for this.
Yeah, no one will believe it.
Come on.
Michigan woman pleads guilty after trying to have ex-husband killed through fake Rent-A-Hitman website. Yes, it was really over the top. Seems like a prop from a movie, Rent-A-Hitman.com.
There's actually a couple of these stories because I love this kind of thing, and I've heard a couple of these tales about the court cases that go down for these things. One thing that always shocks me is the low amount that they charge for the murders. $5,000.
That's
it was and she only had to put down a $500 down payment. But that's a bill you want to pay. You don't mess around with that debt.
You bring the person a severed finger, and it's like, where's the rest of my money? And it's
So yeah, that's unfortunate. She didn't get a whole lot of jail time for that though.
Yeah, it was only 11 months or something.
It seemed pretty small when she was willing.
A cap of 108 months in prison, so about 10 years.
But that's still not enough.
What's it for attempted murder? Is that right?
I don't know if that's the exact charge, but she did definitely. she didn't try to kill somebody, but she tried to hire it. So kind of the same thing.
Is there a contracting fee? Does that give you less time?
And how about the even better story than that was the woman who got duped by the prisoners and helped them escape. There's a great TV show about it. I can't remember the name of it. And instead, they were like, yeah, we're going to take you with us. And then they didn't take her with them. So she went back to her husband. It all played out. He knew about it and he took her back.
Wow.
They were supposed to kill him that night. Amazing. Amazing what love/desperation will do.
Yeah.
And was it love that caused Jaden Smith to break his father's heart? Or was it just poor box office?
Will Smith says the press was vicious to his son over After Earth failure. I led him into a public mauling. So, they were in the movie together, and that movie did not do well critically, and it led his son into asking for emancipation at age 15, which is they go ahead and declare you an adult even though you're not 18 yet.
Now, Will Smith took the hit here. In his book, he said, yeah, it was my fault. But
Was
I
it?
remember this time, this kid's tweets were what were making people hate him.
Yeah, I don't think people didn't hate After Earth. I don't think they really liked it, but it was an actually just okay movie. Wasn't good, wasn't bad.
I think what people pointed out was, hey, just because this kid is Will Smith's son doesn't mean he can act. He cannot. Which seems to be true.
I mean, maybe he was harassed outside of that, but I didn't hear anything about that.
The article did say that he's been in other stuff since then, and it hasn't, it's not gone badly. So
yeah, but he's not setting the world on fire.
Why would you want to emancipate yourself just because a movie didn't do well? Maybe there's something else behind the scenes.
You're an entitled little piece of garbage, is why. You're a rich kid.
Do you think? Well, I wonder. Will we get a Jaden Smith book next, where he's like, "Here's what my dad got wrong."
It'll have to be ghostwritten. I bet he couldn't write a book.
He could, but it would just be like very cryptic.
Remember when he did all that? Like he was trying to be all like metaphysical.
How can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real? Wasn't that one of his tweets?
He's just an idiot. But no one's ever told him that. That's the problem. He's too. Like, no one had ever told him how stupid and uninteresting he was until that movie. And it was too much for him.
Pardon me, sir.
Oh, man. How about every Shopify shopping cart now has this built in? Have you noticed that?
Yes.
It's with like Zezel or something like that.
I'll go you one darker. The next version of Edge is going to have this built in. Your Microsoft Bing account is going to be pre-approved for buy now, pay later.
Our road to debt serfdom is a two-pronged affair. Yeah. It's going to be hyperinflation and this. Yeah. You know what? If this is slightly less stupid than tweeting your crypto holdings, don't do it.
Criminals love buy now, pay later. How fraudsters exploit popular interest-free payment plans. So if the fraudsters have got your social security number and your driver's license number and where you live and all your other info, they can just take out a payday loan or a buy now, pay later loan or whatever. And that just delays the amount of time from the fact that you've been hacked or compromised to the time that you actually notice and can do something about it. And then that becomes a lot harder to deal with. Because like if somebody uses your credit card and you can get a hold of Amazon before they actually ship it and they don't ship it, that's a lot easier to deal with than 3 months later people that you haven't dealt with are coming after you for money and they actually have your info. And it's like, what happened? Are they the scammers? What's going on?
They also point out that a lot of companies are getting into this. Like we said, the Shopify shopping cart. Those little companies don't really understand the nuances of how buy now, pay later works. One of the big things is categorization. So if your product is categorized as like high-priced consumer electronics, that gets some really serious fraud detection. But if it's diapers, well, who's going to do that, right? These little shopping cart companies will miscategorize. And so the AI will be like, we don't have to worry about that as much. But they should be worrying about it. And as soon as the scammers catch on to that, they just wipe them out. So.
This is why. Did anyone like layaway? Does Walmart even do layaway anymore? I mean, this is essentially kind of what that is. Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know.
No, they still do. They definitely do. They had record numbers. That was one of the things in the local papers. The local Walmart was like, we've never had this much in layaway before.
I don't understand, though, like, well, I guess maybe during the inventory crisis, it makes a little more sense, right? Because they do hold that one item, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
That makes more sense. But otherwise, it would always make more sense to just discipline yourself and hold the money yourself.
Yeah.
Because you get the increase. You might change your mind.
Well, people have always really liked it at Walmart because, the hot Christmas items of, this isn't the first year that we've had supply issues. Think about like Xbox and
that makes sense.
Video games and crap like that. So it's like if you can reserve an Xbox in like November, do it. And it's,
Oh, it's going to take you a lot more than 1 month.
Yeah, now it is.
Yeah.
Well, here's a terrifying headline. I don't know how realistic this is or who's saying this exactly, but it certainly does alert it makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck, huh?
Russian ransomware gangs start collaborating with Chinese hackers. I would call this is a fun article, you should read this, but I would call your attention to the story that we had 2 or 3 weeks ago when it said, wait a minute, this was a Chinese language hack that had Russian letter keyboards installed. And so it's like, wait a minute, is somebody trying to make it look like somebody else is doing something? What's going on with this?
Well, they do have some screenshots from the forums, the Russian forums, in Chinese. So they claim they're trying to recruit them. Maybe it's misdirection.
Maybe it's double misdirection, or maybe an incident of misdirection has popped up and said, wait, that looked like it was the Chinese. We're the Chinese. We definitely know it wasn't us. Was it you guys? Well, it wasn't you guys. Ah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yes. That could be bad for us.
Well, here's an interesting headline because you would think like, well, isn't the U.S. also doing this? Yeah, for sure we are.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But South Korea is unique in the fact that they seem to be only doing it to foreign nationals, not their own people.
South Korea is giving millions of photos to facial recognition researchers. So if you've traveled into South Korea and you've used the little kiosk thing, you're in the database and your face is with a researcher.
Probably not much you can do about it. Just enjoy being part of the data set.
You're not in South Korea. You don't have any rights. Oh, no.
There are some local people who are trying to do class action lawsuits, whatever that looks like in Korea. I don't know if that will have any success. I wouldn't be too hopeful about it. And I'm not too hopeful about this one either, although I am terrified that they will use it like drug dogs because it'll alert whenever you tell it to if you build it right.
The Utah company says it revolutionized truth-telling technology. Experts are highly skeptical. So this technology looks at the movement of your eyes in order to determine if you're being truthful or not. Sounds like more snake oil.
Yeah, what if you have, what's that condition where your eyes like tremble? Does it count for that?
You're going to prison.
What's the one thing, they arrested that guy finally that was doing the classes. I wonder whatever happened with that.
Classes?
Yeah, he was doing the classes on like why the galvanic skin response lie detectors are garbage. And they've been trying to arrest him and stop him for years, but they finally did arrest him for something.
Mm. Yeah, they love this kind of thing, and I think they love it for the reasons I just said. It's because you can just make it say whatever you want.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to use it in court, but you can get past any little hurdle in the investigation and use this as an excuse. So
it's like the drug dog alerted, and it's like...
Just remember that right now, you could say no to this, and you always should. Always.
But that's suspicious. They'll bring that up at your trial. Like, you have the right to do that, but because you had the right to do that and did that, that's suspicious. They're not supposed to say that, though.
They're thinking it.
Especially in court. Now, this is a follow-up to the story that I wanted to run. But, so here is the backstory. There was a tennis player in China. I think she won Wimbledon in like 2013. She's very good. And she was one of the best tennis players to ever come out of China. She recently made some accusations on social media about sexual abuse from high-ranking members of the Communist Party. Can you guess what happened next? I bet you can.
She disappeared.
If you've ever seen anything about our stories on China.
Peng Shuai. Peng Shuai? Peng Shuai?
Shuai, maybe?
Peng Shuai?
Shuai?
The UN has called for proof of Chinese tennis stars' whereabouts. The Women's Tennis Authority chairman is willing to pull out of China completely. We will not do women's tennis in China anymore unless something happens to show us that she's okay.
That's a brazen move.
Yeah.
Good for them. I don't know that.
What? Good for them?
No. I mean, like, good that they're willing to pull out. If.
Oh, you mean the tennis association?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a crazy world that you live in. You have to appreciate, because she was obviously probably a rich woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And living a very happy life, and she had to know that this could cause problems. But she was brave enough to do it. Now, I think that she was alleging that it was similar to our women's gymnastic thing here, in that it was ongoing, and it was affecting everybody.
I hope she gets out okay.
I don't think she will.
I'm going to have to look that up and see if they ever find her.
Once again, I have to say that I'm so glad that stuff like that doesn't happen in this country. I mean, it's so...
But it happens all the time.
What do you think...
Wendell literally 5 seconds ago, didn't this happen to the gymnasts? It's like, oh...
What do you think that Jinping would do if his daughter was to lose her diary?
Probably send the state police or the police.
I think it was the FBI,
law enforcement authority, to go and collect it.
2 different addresses. And finally, last week I forgot to put Krista's marketplace story in there. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But this week we have one, and it's a doozy. We didn't realize that these even existed, but we found out that not only do they exist, but this is a bargain.
Avatar boy baby on the marketplace.
It's $75. It is super disturbing. They sell these for $375 on
Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
It's a real baby. And according to the Amazon listing, it has real genitals.
Oh.
Real baby feeling.
That is something.
I've
else,
seen
isn't
these
it?
real babies before, and they're usually marketed toward like young girls.
This
But I've never seen one that's a creature, like a humanoid.
Was it James Cameron that was the director?
Yeah, I think
Do
so.
you think
for
he
Avatar.
okayed this?
Well, Krista looked it up on Amazon. I think this is probably third party, right? What's the copyright issue there?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like... I mean, if Miramax is worried about what's-his-name's NFT hand scribbles, surely to God.
Yeah, what the hell is this? Like,
Evita?
Why? Can Miramax get on that? I mean, it's not Miramax.
oh, this is a different brand, the one that I found on Amazon.
Also, there's competing Avatar babies.
Good Lord.
Now, there got to be other movies that they do this with, too, right? Like, what would be another movie you might make a character?
Chubby hands and feet. All right, hang on. Well, let's see if there's another
Hobbit
Avatar
babies.
baby.
With really hairy feet.
Oh, there's several different brands, looks like.
Wow.
So this was a good, popular enough to have even knockoffs of the knockoff.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Oh my gosh.
I don't know, man. That's crazy.
Why is this a thing? So this is definitely not licensed by James Cameron. Anyway,
I suppose that there's nothing about the Avatar people specifically that you could copyright, right? Blue people with tails.
Yeah.
I mean, what about the Nightcrawler?
I mean, but they put Avatar in the listing. Like, there's a lot of results for that on Amazon.
Well, think about this. If there's someone in your life that's hard to buy gifts for, that has everything, like what do you get the person that has everything? Avatar baby.
It's sort of the reverse Beanie Baby investment model, too. Because that's an incredible loss of value in a short time.
Oh, we've been talking about redoing the set. Maybe we need to contact this guy and get this Avatar baby to put on the set.
75. I mean, we are doing well. We could probably afford it.
Think how beautiful he'd be sleeping in the back all the time.
You know what? The great thing about buying the Avatar baby for somebody for Christmas is that not only do you get a great Christmas present, but you get a great TikTok video that you film as they open it. Their reaction.
Its eyes open because like it's closed there, but some of the others it's open. I think.
This just looks like it's in a coffin.
Yeah, I don't like it. Oh no, his eyes are closed there.
No, they're always closed here. Maybe you're looking at the other brand.
Yeah.
Well, that'll
strange.
keep you awake at night. You're welcome. We'll see you next week for the live episode on Monday.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
right. Don't forget on Monday. What time are we going to do that?
Ooh.
No earlier
Yeah, I
than
need
noon.
to make a Twitter post for that.
Let's say it's like 1. Well, let's just do it at the normal time, right?
Yeah.
1:30.
1:30. Okay.
1:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're in Standard Time now, right? Yeah. We will do live news. Enjoy that.
We'll see you then. Bye.